Practices that? Me? I practice. Practice makes perfect, and perfect I will be.
Okay, you're wearing a shirt and nothing else, Pooh Bear.
This is a dress. I'm just really
You
tall.
don't have any bottoms on.
This is literally a dress.
All tops, no bottoms. All tops, no bottoms.
Pooh Bear.
Welcome to Radiant's Great. You're a stupid asshole.
The podcast for my parents. If you're too loud and have no standards, you can sit with us.
Can't sit by Grace. She's mean.
While I give you the cliff notes and the cringiest quotes, and we go screeching all the way. I'm Grace, and this is my co-host, Ava. This week, we're covering The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. It has 308 pages. It is 8 hours and 51 minutes long by audiobook, narrated by Jack Hawkins and Louise Brealey. The narration was fine. There's nothing of note. Has a 4.3 out of 5 star rating on Goodreads. One thing that is notable in the book is that at one point, the main character refers to the food service staff where he works as Caribbean dinner ladies.
Ew.
It mostly takes place in a mental hospital in the UK in the modern day. There are 2 point of views. One is a diary and the other is first person narration. The 2 main characters are Alicia, who is an artist in her early 40s. She's serving a prison sentence in the mental hospital. She's inexplicably killed her husband about 7 years ago. Right after she killed him, she immediately painted a nude self-portrait of herself and never spoke again.
A nude self-portrait of herself?
Yes. Yeah. Redundant.
You said nude self-portrait of herself. A nude self-portrait.
Yes, I see my error. She did not try to defend herself at the trial, so she was very easily convicted, and she's been serving her sentence here due to some mental health issues in her past and her silence following the murder. The second main character is Theo. He's a psychologist who has always empathized with Alicia. He became a psychologist because of some trauma from his own childhood, and he sees some parallels between his past and Alicia's, specifically because she attempted suicide after the murder, and he has a personal history of that as well. We will start by going through Alicia's diary. She starts the diary saying that she feels silly for calling it a diary or even a journal. She feels more comfortable expressing herself through her art. She agreed to write her feelings down because her husband, Gabriel, has been very concerned about her. She writes about how much she loves him and comments on how she's going to try to write and think happy thoughts and no crazy negative ones. She likes to paint because she feels like she's in control of the outcome, and she starts painting a picture of Jesus, but then accidentally gives him Gabriel's face instead of a Jesus face. So that's kind of weird. She mentions feeling mentally unwell and is struggling not to let it happen again. She's referring to a mental breakdown that she had shortly after her father died. Later on in the diary, she writes about a fight that she had with her husband. She's upset that he wants to have a gun in the house, and it makes her very uncomfortable. He refuses to get rid of it no matter how much it upsets her, but he finally does agree to get rid of it. But then he doesn't actually do it. He keeps it. Later on, they have his brother Max over for dinner, and she hates having to see him. This is because apparently Max forced a kiss on her the last time that she saw him. He very obviously likes her, but she finds him gross. She tells him she's gonna tell Gabriel what he did, and he tries to kiss her again. She bites the shit out of him and gets his blood in her mouth.
Ew.
Max then calls her a bitch and tries to threaten her not to tell her husband. After he leaves, the husband chides her for not being more personable to the brother-in-law, and she doesn't tell him about that gross fucking kiss because she doesn't want to hurt his feelings.
This falls into the category that I do not like of, in what universe do people want to fuck their in-laws?
I know.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Have you met my in-laws? I don't want to fuck my in-laws.
The next entry is her birthday, and she has a lovely, lovely day. And she writes about how much she loves her husband some more. And she says that she wants to remember this day forever.
Like, people who would kill their sibling so they can fuck their in-law.
So disgusting.
I don't understand that. I'm not going to kill you so I can fuck your husband.
Oh, thank goodness.
It's disgusting.
Comforting.
Disgusting!
Several months later, she hears from a cousin that she was raised with named Paul. He's in trouble with a loan shark for some gambling debts, and she gives him a teeny tiny bit of money and she feels bad that she can't really help him more, but she doesn't know what else she can do. He's kind of shitty about the fact that she can't just write him a check for enough money that would cover his whole debt, but he leaves.
Get a job! Who are you?
Another day she's painting, and her friend / collaborator, John Felix, comes over uninvited and unannounced. She's really annoyed with his overall attitude and the way that he imposes himself on her. He does that really annoying thing where he acts like he knows her better than her own husband does. Like,
Fun.
I'm your best friend. Gross. She tries to set a boundary with him, telling him that she's gonna find a new gallery instead of using his, and he blames Gabriel. But she says, chill, bro. I just think we need better boundaries for our business and our friendship. He guilts her and convinces her to go to this play with him later in the week. And it's this Greek play. And it's a story about a woman who sacrifices herself to save her husband, but then she comes back from the dead, and her husband was an ungrateful little shit about it.
Great.
She goes home from the play and has sex with her husband, stating, quote, I wanted to climb inside his skin, unquote.
Ew.
At this time, I would like to redirect your attention to the fact that this book was written by a man doing his best. Who presumes that is what women are thinking.
Why would a man be here? Why would a man be here?
What men are thinking, what women must be thinking during sex. Not long after she goes to this play, she starts to notice someone watching her house from across the street, and she just finds that overall unsettling. Every time she sees the man and tries to tell Gabriel, by the time Gabriel comes to see what she's talking about, the man is gone. She starts to think that maybe it's her friend John Felix getting back at her for setting boundaries, and she yells at the person, but it's not John Felix. She does get a photo of him, but it's not clear enough to prove anything. He literally just stands right outside her window looking at her. It's to the point where she's waking up in the middle of the night seeing this person outside the house watching her. Gabriel is more and more agitated about the whole thing and does not believe her no matter what. He tells her that she has to go see a psychiatrist because he's convinced that she's having another breakdown. He takes her to see an old personal friend of his who happens to be a psychiatrist, and that friend gives her a prescription, but she pretends to take it but then spits it out because she knows that she's not making any of this up. She's just trying to appease her husband. She becomes more and more reclusive due to the stress of this stalker, and the very last entry, she writes that she can hear someone in the house. And that's the last diary entry. At the beginning of his part of the story, he's recounting the story of why Alicia is in the mental hospital. The story goes that Alicia shot her husband when he came home late from a rehearsal. When the police got to the house, she was in the middle of a suicide attempt. He tells us about the painting that Alicia made after the husband died, that nude self-portrait of herself. Apparently, shortly after the incident, Alicia's friend and fellow artist, John Felix, took the paintings and made an exhibit in his personal gallery, and it was really successful because of the scandal surrounding Alicia.
Charming.
So shitty of him. Theo is interviewing for a job at the mental hospital where Alicia is serving her sentence. He gets the job, and the whole place is low-key ghetto as fuck.
Charming.
The lead psychiatrist there is known for some alternative therapies, and everyone thinks it's going to be shut down soon. It has some major Orange is the New Black vibes with all the ladies in there.
Oh. You know that lady is out of her mind, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Pennsatucky lady?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, she is.
Oh, yeah, she is. She's off her rocker. He immediately zeroes in on Alicia and notices that she's pretty much drugged out of her mind. He goes straight to the supervisor and asks if she can be assigned to him as his patient. Then he realizes...
We're just out here like we're at Trader Joe's. I want
that one.
And this
Yeah.
one and this one and this one.
Mm-hmm. He realizes that he went to all this fucking trouble to help her by like getting the job at that hospital specifically and everything, but he doesn't have an actual plan of how to help her. He begins to shift focus as well from trying to help her to trying to figure out what really happened the day that she shot her husband. So he makes a plan to go to the gallery where her former collaborator has kept her art to snoop around for a little bit. One of the mental health techs at the hospital notices the special interest he's taken on Alicia and tells him, don't be fucking weird, you have a wife.
I feel like that's a little bit obvious.
That same evening, Theo meets his wife Kathy and her friends for dinner. Kathy is an actress and is gushing about how they met and saying how it was love at first sight. Really? When they first met, they were both seeing other people and they just instantly wanted to fuck. So they cheated on their partners and got together.
Ew.
Yeah. Back at the hospital, Theo convinces Alicia's doctor to decrease her psych meds because she's so doped up. He thinks that's one of the reasons that she's not speaking. So the next session that they have is the first one that she's not totally out of it. And he breaks protocol by having the session one-on-one instead of with a chaperone. At this session, Alicia beats the dog shit out of him.
Ew.
The man is too shocked to speak. And he she beat the shit out of him so hard he couldn't even get the call button, the panic button in the room. No one can imagine why she was so aggressive with him, but they all agree that a response is better than no response. And so they say they're just going to continue as is. Basically, they're hoping that if he has a breakthrough with such a high-profile patient, maybe they won't lose the funding for the whole hospital. So they give him 6 weeks to make her speak. He is so stressed out that he goes home and shame smokes a doobie. While high, he stumbles across his wife's email inbox and finds some trashy, nasty-ass sex emails between Kathy and someone else from her acting class.
Great.
She's been writing them all hours of the night, so laying in the bed next to him and emailing this other person.
Ew.
Yeah. He shame smokes another joint.
Unsurprising, but gross.
He then goes to see his own previous therapist because he's so upset. She's now an old friend, and she tells him he should leave Kathy's whore ass. He says, "You don't understand our love," and leaves. When he gets back from seeing his old therapist, Kathy is waiting up for him to shame him about the pot smoking. He does not confront her about the affair. He decides he's going to fix their relationship like he fixes everything else.
Great.
You have to put your crocheting down if you're not going to have any input other than, "Oh, great."
I'm waiting for something to happen.
All of this is happening. His wife is cheating on him. He's shame smoking pot as if that's the worst thing ever.
When did this book come out? Because that's not the
last year.
Wild thing that it used to be.
Last year.
Where'd he get it?
He had to go to
The white doctor.
No, he had to go to the market and try to get it from the street. From a street person. He does something wildly inappropriate for a therapist and calls Alicia's brother-in-law Max. And Max just says that Alicia was a huge bitch and he hates her. Theo notes that Max is fugly.
Charming.
He does another wildly inappropriate thing and goes to see that cousin Paul.
All of the things that he's done so far are wildly inappropriate. What are you talking about?
Very much so. Paul says that Alicia was always nice to him.
She's nice to me!
Yeah.
Our favorite line in all of history.
And he's always doubted that she was capable of killing Gabriel.
No, he just doubts that she's capable, period.
In the evening, he goes through Kathy's email again, but everything has been deleted, and he's so offended by all of this. He goes back to that gallery where Alicia's paintings are, just like he had planned. While there, John Felix says that Gabriel was probably just jealous of he and Alicia's relationship. He says that Alicia was a fucked up person due to her childhood and says that if they want her to communicate, they should probably just let her paint. He convinces the hospital to just let her paint with her own materials instead of the ones that are in the regular art therapy class. The art therapist calls Alicia a bitch and she's glad that she won't be in her class anymore.
Charming.
Theo thinks, she probably just hates her because she's jealous of all her talent. He tells her that he went to see her paintings in the gallery and that he made arrangements for her to be able to paint again. And this makes her smile, which is a response you're looking for. Some of his colleagues tell him that he's letting her emotionally seduce him, and he decides that's not possible. Then he proceeds to go get all of her art stuff from John Felix. In the evening, Kathy says she's going to see a friend after rehearsal, and Theo...
A friend, wink, wink.
Right. Theo goes to follow her to see if she's lying, but it turns out she isn't lying. She was indeed meeting her friend, and Theo is disappointed about this.
I was hoping you were fucking that friend. Weird thing to be hoping, but okay.
Back at the hospital.
I was hoping you were cheating on me and you was mad that you weren't.
He wanted the proof. Back at the hospital, Alicia has painted a very detailed photo of the hospital.
Self-portrait?
No.
Portrait, self-portrait?
Alicia has painted a very detailed photo of the hospital on fire, with Theo carrying her out of it.
Ew.
The next day, she rams her paintbrush into the eyeball of one of the other patients because they defaced the painting. I have to say, I almost read that as defecated on the painting.
Ew. Took a big old shit on it.
They defaced the painting. The patient who defaced it says that she did that because it was obvious that Theo has a crush on Alicia, and Alicia ends up being put into solitary confinement because of all of it.
A hearty shit.
The staff try to blame him for the altercation because of all the stuff that he's done for her, and they tell him that he can't have any more sessions with her. He does meet with her, despite that, to tell her he's not going to see her anymore, and she gives him the diary with all that stuff in it from before. After reading the diary, He realizes that the doctor her husband had made her see is in fact a doctor at the same hospital, and it's the same one that had doped her up. This doctor was seeing patients on the down low, tax-free. He doped her the fuck up so she couldn't tell on him. He says that he saw her before the incident and she was not mentally well. He says that she was delusional about being watched and followed, ultimately calls her a bitch, and says that she's borderline and beyond help. Why would you say that about a mentally ill person?
Why would a man be here? This man has used the word bitch so often.
Oh, yeah.
And when I used to work at the airport, I had a female supervisor who was honestly a lovely person. One time, one of the guys that I worked with called me a bitch, and I was like, that just rubs me the wrong way, and I don't know why. And she said, Ava, men who aren't very intelligent call women a bitch when they can't think of anything smarter to say.
True story.
And so that's why I don't allow men to call me a bitch. If you don't have anything smarter to say, call me an asshole, call me literally anything else. If you can't think of something better to say, bitch is not the only word that you can call women. You don't got anything better to say? That is not the only thing you can call a woman. Gah! Ah! How many times you said that already? You don't know how to write anything else. Type something else. Write something else. Who's your editor? I have words.
Later, he decides to have more secret therapy sessions with her. And that evening, he follows Kathy again. And this time, she does meet up with her lover in the park.
Ew.
And fucks him in the woods.
Oh, no.
So he sits there and listens to their grunts and their moans.
Oh, no.
He does do that.
No.
He busies himself digging into Alicia's past and meets up with her cousin Paul the gambler. Paul says that Alicia's dad told her he wished she was...
You know when they put the credits in stuff and they're like, this is so-and-so, 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 busboy.
Paul the gambler. Yeah. Paul says that Alicia's dad told her that he wished that she was dead when she was a child. And so Theo feels like this is the breakthrough that he was waiting for. And it shows the reason that she had
I've been waiting for this.
He thinks it shows the reason that she broke, and that must have been what triggered her that day. Something must have happened that triggered that response from her childhood. He has her in for another secret session and berates her, saying she won't see him ever again if she doesn't speak to him. She responds with, okay.
Okay. That don't bother me.
He tells the head of the psych department about the breakthrough because she said one word. And they try to make her sit for a whole fucking panel of psychologists to grill her for information. And Theo says that is not a fucking good idea. But either way, the floodgates are now open and she starts telling him everything. She picks up where the diary left off and eventually tells the story of the night her husband was shot. She says that one night when her husband was at work, the man who had been watching her accosted her and held her hostage in the house. She kept waiting for her husband to get home, and she tried to grab that gun that he never fucking got rid of. But the intruder had already gotten it out of the cabinet in the kitchen where it had been left, and Gabriel was so late getting home. When he did get home, the intruder just shot him and left. Theo is very annoyed at this because he knows from the police report that what she just said wasn't accurate. After work, he follows Kathy again and then stalks the man who she's been sleeping with to his own home. He picks up a rock to smash the guy's head in, but gets interrupted and doesn't do it. He can see him through the window talking and having a nice time with his own wife right after humping Kathy in the park.
Ew!
And he's very angry. But he realizes...
Me too!
He realizes that as mad as he is, he's not a killer. He's not a killer, Bella. And he can't bring himself to do anything.
This is not the skin of a killer.
He says he can't bring himself to do anything to the guy.
He's gonna end up in the room next to, what's her name?
Who?
He's gonna end up in the room right next to her. Oh my gosh, never mind.
Right next to Alicia?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he killed him? Oh, I know, I thought of that. Are they both going to be patients
Clearly you
in this
didn't
hospital?
think of it.
No, I did. I just didn't understand how you were saying it. The next day, Alicia has overdosed and is in a coma. They're wondering where she could have gotten the drugs, and Theo catches that mental health tech from earlier dealing some pills to the other patients on the floor. He notices that there's a little track mark on her arm and is suspicious that someone did this to her on purpose, but then made it look like she overdosed by herself. Max, that nasty brother-in-law, shows up at the hospital screaming, crying, throwing up, all in front of his embarrassed wife.
Fun.
In the evening, Theo waits for his wife's lover outside outside of their house to see if he's gonna leave and go fuck Kathy again. And he feels like he should tell the wife of the lover about the affair, but he's awkward and can't figure out how to approach her about it. He hems and haws and decides to just go for it. and approaches her while she's home alone while their respective spouses are out fucking each other.
Ew.
He ties her up and asks her a bunch of weird-ass questions about how much she loves her husband while waiting for him to return. When the husband finally gets back, he ties that guy up as well and tells him he's going to shoot one of them with the gun from the kitchen, and the husband can choose to either save himself or the woman. The husband is a shithead and says, I don't want to die, don't kill me. So Theo goes out of the line of sight and shoots the gun into the ceiling to make it sound like he said, okay, I will shoot your wife. Boo-hoo. Now the husband is screaming, crying, throwing up. Theo goes and unties the lady and says, now you know what kind of pussy you're married to, and gives her the gun and leaves. Do you understand what just happened?
No.
What don't you understand? Does anything sound familiar?
I don't know who the extra person is. You said him wife, his wife, her.
Let's go back and interject some names in there more. In the evening, Theo waits for his wife's lover outside of the house to see if he's going to go fuck Kathy again. He feels like he should tell Alicia about the affair, but he's awkward and can't figure out how to approach her about it. He hems and haws and decides to just go for it. So he approaches Alicia while she's home alone, and Gabriel and Kathy are out fucking each other. He ties her up.
So he's the one that was following?
He's the one that was following her. And he was standing outside the house because he was watching for her husband.
Oh, but...
And this all happened 7 years ago.
What was he doing for 7 years?
He was waiting to get a job at the mental hospital.
For 7 years? Was he going to school to get a degree?
No, he was a therapist at that time. He just kind of...
now he's just obsessed with her?
Yes.
Why? So... did he kill his wife? Where's his wife?
She's still married to him.
So just the one guy's dead.
Yes. So initially he was like, I'll just be really creative and show her that her husband is a pussy. He didn't go there to kill anyone. He was just like, I'm a weird therapist. I know psychological things. I'll show her that her husband is a pussy, which is why he came up with this scenario of I'm an intruder and you get to pick which one of you I'm going to kill.
That's crazy.
So then Gabriel said, don't kill me. I'm too pretty to die. And Alicia heard him say that. And up until that point, we know from the diary that she loved him so much. She was like really enamored with him.
Right.
Then Theo sees, no, he's not all that he's cracked up to be, which is why he asked her all those weird questions about how much she loved him. Because he knows, no, Gabriel's fucking Kathy.
Right. He stayed married to her even after she fucked that dude.
He stayed married to her even though she fucked that dude. So he shot one round into the ceiling to show her that your husband was literally going to let me shoot you. And then he unties her, hands her the gun, and leaves.
So she
and
did
is like,
shoot
do
him.
what you want. She did shoot him. And this whole time, his whole like trying to find a breakthrough was because he was a little bit perplexed that she actually shot him. He thought that when he handed her the gun, she was just going to be like upset and leave him. He didn't know she was going to turn around and shoot him the other 5 times in the head.
So I'm a little bit confused on the time thing. So did she...
It was very confusing, yes.
Now in modern day,
Mm-hmm.
his wife is cheating on him again?
No, her lover's dead.
She doesn't have a new one?
No,
It
that I know
sounded
of.
like she had a new one.
Yeah, it did sound like she had a new one because they did a little mind fuck with the timelines and they made it sound like all the stuff he was telling us was present day, but it wasn't. Part of it was flashbacks to before.
Oh.
Right. The only stuff happening in present day was him doing all the investigating into like her family members. All the stuff about his personal life was previous.
Ew.
Yep. So so wrapping it up, there's this additional chapter to Alicia's diary. The entry says, I'm writing this as fast as I can because Theo just came in here and injected me with something. I don't know what it is, but I'm just writing this down just in case anyone ever finds this so you can know what happened to me. And she hid it and she stuffed it into the corner of one of her paintings. Theo is just going to watch her forever. He's happy because he was weirdly obsessed with her and now she's in a coma. So he's like, perfect. She's right where I can keep an eye on her.
She's in a coma now.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even want her awake.
No, he's like, he's like, I can keep an eye on her, make sure she's okay because he's delusional. And because this happened at the mental hospital, the people on the board fire the guy who was initially the head of it. And they're like, Theo, you're really good. You did all these breakthroughs with Alicia. We're going to make you the head of the department. And he's like, no way. I accept.
Oh my God.
He gets promoted a few years down the line when they're cleaning out some stuff, like some of her paintings, like for the gallery or something. They find the extra entry of her diary where she's telling on him, saying this guy came and injected me with some drugs and I think I might die. And the police come and they find him. And he's like, oh, you caught me. The end.
You got me.
He's like, oh, I guess the gig is up.
But I got my fill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
But he got to have his little pet Alicia in a coma.
Ew.
And that's why he was like, oh, it's such a breakthrough that her dad said he wanted her dead, because he couldn't figure out why she snapped and actually shot the husband. Because when he handed her the gun, it was like, okay, we're done. I wasn't actually going to try to hurt you and I'm going to leave, even though it was really weird of him to do. And then he was like, what? Why did she snap? Why did she get pushed to where she shot him? And it was because her dad had said that. Because she was like, I trusted my dad. I thought that he loved me. And then he said he wished I was dead. And then here was her husband, who she trusted and loved more than anything. And he said, I wouldn't care if you died. And so she said, not this time.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. So for a time there, Kathy's lover was dead. So Theo's problem was solved. And Alicia was his little pet coma patient.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm. But now he's in jail.
Is he in jail or is he in the insane asylum?
Both, maybe. Yeah, maybe both. Maybe he did end up with her there.
Right.
There's not much of a where are they now to do, except for where is Kathy? Because we know Alicia probably passed away eventually from her coma. We know that Theo is incarcerated. Where's Kathy?
Teaching at a theater school.
Kathy, yes, and she has sensationalized her life.
Yeah, and she's doing that thing where she dates like the Troy Bolton's dad coach person.
Oh no, I think she's dating Troy Bolton. I think she's dating him, and she's like, no, he's 18, it's fine. I think that she is like,
or like the minute they graduate.
Mm-hmm. She's definitely dating.
Like nothing was happening before.
She's dating someone much younger than her and also cheating on them.
She cheats on everyone.
And to everyone, she sensationalizes her life. She's like, can you believe
She's like,
what I've been through?
I almost got a role on Broadway. Off Broadway.
And her family had money, too.
Yeah, she's never actually, she doesn't work because she actually needs the money.
She doesn't go to school. She doesn't have a job.
Where is the money that she went to work and got herself? Not her dad's money or her grandpa's money.
What about John Felix, that icky friend?
He was the one who owned the...
Yeah, who was like...
gallery?
She literally said, I don't want to be in your gallery anymore. But then the incident happened before she could pull her paintings out. And he used the notoriety from the incident to get more money from the exhibit.
Oh, no. He sells trinkets at a roadside stand. Gas station.
He's like the guy from Aladdin at the beginning. I was thinking he's has no money. He's that person that every time you talk to them, they act like they're really successful and you kind of believe them. And
make moves!
And then they're like, hey, but can I borrow $20?
I'm moving in silence. Lions move in silence.
Yes, John
Who's got the moves? Who got the money moves?
Yes, John Felix is can't wait to can't speak on
who got the producer hookup. I can't speak on it, but I got something good cooking up.
He's like, I got big news coming out soon.
It never comes out.
What happened to those big moves coming soon?
The guy who always wants you to
as Max
cash at me.
Is Max, the brother-in-law, still married to that lady that he embarrassed by crying so hard over Alicia?
No,
she finally grew some balls and left him. It was so embarrassed by his
She
baby.
mailed him divorce papers from her great aunt's house.
From the same place.
She went on a trip to see her family, but then she mailed him divorce papers because she wasn't coming back.
And what about Paul? Lastly, Paul the gambler.
He's doing the same thing as the money moves guy.
Oh, I think his legs are broken by his bookie.
No, I don't think the bookie caught up with him.
You don't think so?
No, he's making moves in silence.
He's making moves in silence. You know what we're not doing? If I move, it is not in silence. Nothing about me is nothing about me is silent. I will say though, I was thinking about this. When I got my degree, I didn't push shit about it. I was like, boom, I got a degree.
You're so fucking smart.
I was like, boom, I had a baby. Boom, I got married. Boom, whatever. I'm not bringing y'all through the journey. It was hard enough for me. I'm not going to make you go through it with me.
A bunch of people, when we got married, we were getting married or whatever. And people were like, you guys are getting married? I didn't know that you were together. And I was like, that was on purpose.
Well, yeah, whenever I told people I was getting married, they were like, to who?
Right. They were like, and who are you marrying? And I was like, the the guy who works the counter at Allegiant? And they were like, what? And I was like, we never see you with him. And I was like, that's on purpose.
Like my son's father.
I was like, I don't hang on him at work. That, like, did you expect me to be like laying with my head in his lap or something?
Mhm.
Like, we work here.
So how was the twist here? Was, okay, this versus Verity versus the one with the lady and the typewriter. Which twist was
This
better?
was more like, this was likable. However, confusing because I missed it the first go around because of the way that it was said.
Whenever I was reading it, I picked up on it once he was talking about, like,
when you
watching...
said the word, oh, well, he stalked so-and-so, you said stalked 2 times, and I went, oh, 2 people are stalking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how it was written, because whenever I was, like, reading it, I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait, he's standing outside these people's house, just like that guy was standing outside of Alicia's
house. Why
house.
are you also doing that? And then I thought, well, maybe he's just doing it because sometimes people write parallels. So I was like, maybe he's just finding himself doing the exact same thing that creepy dude was doing.
Exactly.
Because he likes her. But no, it was just him.
Too. I thought so too. But there was literally no hints that Gabriel was a piece of shit until that point. Like, because
I would have guessed that he was, because we heard nothing about him.
Well, you only knew what Alicia had said, and she loved him so much. She only said nice things about him. The only kind of ick you got from him was that he, like, didn't believe her.
Here's the thing. I was completely unsurprised by that, because why else would she have murdered him?
Yeah.
We're not starting from 0.
That's true.
We're not starting from chaos neutral.
I was more thinking that she was going to find out he cheated on her, and she literally never found out he cheated on her, because Theo didn't say, hey, your husband's cheating on you. He said, hey, your husband wouldn't care if you died. Which objectively is a lot harder to hear.
He didn't want her to know that his wife was a scut bucket.
True story. I'm like, would you rather...
Remember when we literally just talked about erasing all of the evidence of what you did?
Mm-hmm.
So when people have affairs and they want to immediately erase all the evidence of what they did,
he wanted to stay with
in your mind, right? In your mind, all the evidence, not only in your mind, but like living proof of. So they're like, okay, so in the modern day and age, it's phones, computers, tablets, DNA proof, and then also speculation in the people's brains that know.
Who's to say if he had left, right? And all he really would have done was convinced Alicia that her husband was a piece of shit, her husband might have still kept fucking Kathy.
Right. Well,
so what did you really do?
That they wouldn't have moved away, and or he wouldn't have gone home and strangled Kathy himself. Maybe he didn't know if he woke up in the morning and didn't see that on the news, you know? You're going from
plan B.
Right, you're going home from his perspective where he is letting you, the reader, know, oh yeah, I had no intention of, you know, I didn't want his murder. I didn't want his demise. Liar, pants on fire.
So it was a good book. The only thing I didn't like was the male's perspective of when women have sex, they want to crawl inside your skin like a bot fly.
Gross. Also, men are the thing that is inside something. So that is what. Why would a man be there? Why would a man be there? Why would he be there? Why would he be there? This was written by a man. This was written by a man. You will not convince me otherwise. This was written by a man.
Thank you for listening to Read It and Screech. If you'd like to support the podcast, as always, you can rate, review, subscribe, and find us on Instagram and TikTok at ScreecherPod.
We have to leave.
Do not listen with your mom in the car.